I don't know if y'all have seen this, but this is actually really a big deal. Christopher Smith has been named a Bronco Nagurski Trophy finalist, and there's a couple of different reasons why I want to talk about this. This is given out by the Charlotte Touchdown Club. This is really about Christopher. Well, I don't know if Christopher Smith's calling himself Chris now or not, but um, this is a guy that has been around the block at Georgia for a while. And the other folks that he is in here with, and I'm going to have a hard time with some of the names, I'm sorry, but Kalaja Cansey from Pitt, the defensive lineman, USC tackle Tua Pulutu, and Will Anderson from Alabama, who I think most people know that name. The only person who has ever won this at Georgia in its history is Champ Bailey. So that tells you what we're kind of dealing with here. I mean, guys like Justin Houston, David Pollock, Jordan Davis, Roquan, they have all been finalists but have never won. And the reason why this is such a big deal that Christopher Smith is getting this is nobody thought, I mean, Christopher Smith was not considered by the vast majority of people who do what I do for a what I do for a living, or in .com world. They don't think about guys like Christopher Smith, and I understand why. He's not sexy when he's coming out of Hateful Charter and all this stuff. He just went and did it every single day. That's it. This play by Christopher Smith, and now N'Kobe Dean has something to do with it too. Now, we talk about it here in the book, all right? This is such a great image of Christopher. Christopher, if you're seeing this, you reach out to me, okay? I'll get you the image. But this picture of Christopher Smith with N'Kobe, who has here's what's happened in this picture, okay? N'Kobe has pressured DJ Uiagalelei, all right there, and Chris has undercut the ball. It looked like Clemson was starting to get a little momentum. I think it was just before the half. Is that right? I can't remember what the score was. But here's N'Kobe has pressured DJ Ugalele, and he has undercut the ball. Christopher Smith explodes. Well, Latravius Brini is celebrating. Kelee Ringo, soon to be immortalized himself. People will never forget this play. Now, why? All right. And part of the thing with dog instruction is you get some of these cool images, but it's hard for me to talk about it while I'm holding it up. But Christopher took off that night in Charlotte, and the explosion of sound was something serious because that moment uh, was one of the defining moments in Georgia's season. Now, remember how that play was set up, and I'll read it to you right here. Two plays later, Clemson punter Will Spires hit a punt only 35 yards. Great job, Will. He purposely hit it short. It's pitching wedge. Anyway, Will Spires hit a punt only 35 yards to the Georgia 49, but it hit a Georgia player on the foot. I don't know if y'all remember that. And Clemson recovered. The Tigers were at midfield with momentum for the first time all night. After allowing a first down, Georgia stiffened up and forced Clemson in a 3rd and 4 from the Georgia 30. So they should have kicked a field goal at minimum. N'Kobe Dean shot through the line, to the right side of Clemson's line, forcing Uiagalelei to rush a throw that was off target. Christopher Smith was there to pick it off, and run into the history books. 74 yards later, Smith was in the end zone with Latravius Brini, Kelee Ringo in tow. Georgia had taken a 7-0 lead. As it turns out, that would be enough to win the game. Jack Podnesley knocked in a 22-yard kick to give Georgia a 10-0 advantage going into the fourth quarter. Clemson had a field goal, but the Dogs' offensive ground game burned up the last 4 minutes and 49 seconds with 9 consecutive runs to get to the Clemson 12 before taking a knee for the win. So they would have been able to kick a field goal to win it there if they really had to anyway. But Christopher Smith's just amazing run into the Charlotte night, to me, ranks up there with like what Malcolm Mitchell did against the Gators in 2012. But Christopher Smith is an adult. And in society, we need more adults, I would say. But there's not been like putting him on a pedestal. I mean, I don't mean it bad, but a lot of people half the time they're talking about Kelee. If they're not talking about Kelee, they're talking about Jalen Carter. I fall victim to this. But Christopher Smith has just been steady the entire time, y'all. In 2020, coming in for Richard LeCount late in the season after Richard got hurt. And then in 21, the first game of the season, making that play. This is development. Christopher Smith was not a five-star guy. He was a four-star prospect. He is good. He should have been good. But what he's done is, I guess what I'm trying to say is, he's taken the coaching, he's taken the development, and he's moved along the way to being named to this list, which is one of the top four defensive players in the country, right? I mean, that's what the Bronco Nagurski Trophy is about. And here's some other stuff that Georgia released. Smith's been the anchor in the back end of the Bulldogs defense that's ranked second nationally in scoring defense, third in red zone defense, and fourth nationally in rushing defense. He has 37 tackles, 4 tackles for a loss, and 2 sacks, a fumble recovery for a unit that had 8 players go into the NFL draft last year, y'all. Smith is also tied for the team with 2 interceptions as the Bulldogs attempt to win their 26th consecutive regular season game at Kentucky this weekend. Let's not forget the interception against. There were a couple. Christopher Smith had an interception against Alabama in the national championship game. Georgia didn't do anything with it. They had an interception against Oregon, and now I'm forgetting his other interception. But I will babble on right now just to talk more about him because he really is, to me, he's one of my favorite players at Georgia because he, you know, he's not sexy, right? I mean, he's not. He's just worked his way through it, and I think there's got to be some recognition of that. I mean, you're not always gonna everybody on your team can't be a five-star player. And for all this talk we always hear from from players about how great Georgia is and all this stuff, that's true. And they are loaded up with five-star players, which is kind of the point. But if you don't have Chris Smiths around, you won't have a locker room that is mature enough to handle the Missouri game or the Kent State game, which is where his other interception was, or the lead up to Oregon. You win championships like the division and possibly the SEC championship and beyond. You win those not always during the season. A lot of the time, it's what you're doing along the way from the time that everybody declares until the start of the season. That is it. That is the longest period of time that a football player has at their school. And for Christopher Smith, I know he's mature and he's lived it, right? I mean, you've got guys. That's what's going to be the challenge in 23. Is no matter what happens with Georgia in 2022, you're going to have some guys who are older players that have been around the block. Stetson, Kenny McIntosh, Kyrus Jackson, Warren Erickson, Christopher Smith, and well, I'll throw Robert Beal in there as well. I don't know what the story is on Tramel Wathauer. I don't know if he would leave after this year or not, but that's a lot of institutional knowledge. Now they're going to get replaced with a big junior class that will become seniors. That will be like Xavier Truss, maybe Warren McClendon, Zion Logue, Brinson, Stackhouse. I mean, it's a big junior class, and it's going to be tough replacing Christopher Smith because his legacy, guys like Nick and Sony, people know who they are because they got the ball in their hand all the time. People, they know who Stetson is. But Christopher Smith is a person that should not be forgotten. And, if for no other reason because of this play, and it really was an exceptional play. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. Nakobe caused it, but it was Christopher Smith making it happen. Thanks for watching.